All right. I'm back. I am Marwan Cameron. And this is the Conduit. Glad that everyone was able to come back today. It is Friday, February 18th. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope you're looking forward to the weekend. Today we are going to continue our podcast series for Black History. And we have a very special guest joining us today at the top of the hour, 11 a.m., Ashley Robinson, Kitsap County, owner of the Kitsap Admirals.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Will be pretty amazing. So stay tuned. You won't want to miss it. All right. So, as I said before, got so much stuff going on, which is great. We have so many folks that have already signed up to appear on our podcast and share, their thoughts and give us information. So we're very thankful to all the folks that are going to appear with us. So we're really excited about this series. Yesterday we had Dr. Reverend Laverne Hall, and we ended up going 2 hours. Typically it's not that long, but there was just so much wonderful stuff there that we just had to just let it go organically, and that's what it did. So, even at the end, there were a couple questions we didn't even get to just because it was just, that compelling of a conversation. So, definitely you'll be able to check that out on YouTube and see that there. Do subscribe, like, and share so that you can stay informed with all the content, which is great. And that would be really wonderful for you to do. We definitely would appreciate you there that for doing that. And that said, we're going to talk with Ashley today at 11. We were scheduled to have Ramia Sky Cook at noon. She had a personal emergency, so we're going to reschedule with her because we don't want to miss what she has to say, which is the good thing about that, right? I always like to look at the bright side of things. And, in that situation, the bright side is, hey, if we go a little long, then I don't have to cut I don't need to cut it short. You know what I mean? We can just keep on having the conversation. So I think that's wonderful. So I'm looking forward to being able to do that and not need to worry about it. So, I think that's going to be fantastic. Like I said, join us on, YouTube, and you can follow us there live. You see that I'm also streaming on Facebook. And, of course, we will be available at the end for your viewing. So please, get the word out. Tell your friends about it. Tell your family about it. Have them subscribe, like, and share, as I said before, as that is how we are going to spread the word and get more people that have ideas and thoughts that don't typically get to share their ideas and thoughts out into the ether. And some of those things may be some of the prevailing thought, but I think what we're going to find, as we did in our interview yesterday, that many of those thoughts are very unique or things that people haven't heard, right? And I would surmise that these are things that people probably have, or a lot of people are probably thinking some of these same things, but it's just not being articulated in kind of that mainstream environment, right? And for a variety of reasons, right? We may be going along to get along. It may be pretty unpopular for us to, kind of have these views out there. So, we don't want to, get attacked in the sense of, this cancel culture that we're in. You hear me talking all the time about, folks that sing, shame, insult, need to be right, and guilting. So, it makes people fall back into a silence and just say, you know what, it's just not worth it. I'm just not going to articulate what my thoughts are. And it's a shame because, again, we need to have our thoughts out there so that people can hear those things. So, I think it's incredibly important for sure to do that. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that. So I'm letting people know to come and check us out on YouTube. Check us out on YouTube. And you can just type in my first and last name at Marwan Cameron, and the feed will come up, and you can watch it there. And like I said, please subscribe, like, and share. But like I said, we will have a very special interview today. I know that I'm looking at everything. Everything is going great. The cameras are going fine. But it looks like as far as the internet is concerned or streaming, we're sometimes dropping the signal and coming back in. So just ride the wave with us. There's nothing I can do about that particular piece of it. But, stay tuned. Get what you can. People, are taking their time out to make themselves available to share their thoughts. And then, of course, I think there's a lot of rewatchability. And so, you can support them and support us and gain insight and information for yourself at the same time, which I think is awesome and wonderful. So that said, we've got about 3 minutes to go time. Let me see if he is in the lobby yet. And then I can go ahead and let him in. And then we will get going. All right. So I got to say, I am so very happy that the snow is melted here in Kitsap County. Like I said before, I do not drive in the snow. So that is something that I was not looking forward to. I was pretty much telling the team they couldn't even say the S word. But we got it anyway, and we got through it. So, definitely thinking about our folks down in Texas as they continue to deal with their grid issues and the weather and not having power. So our thoughts are with them, and hopefully they get that rectified here soon because people are definitely suffering down there. And, additionally, we got the East Coast that's being hit. So we've got a lot of stuff that's going on right now. We are going through so many things between the weather, COVID, the economy. It's a very difficult time. In the podcast last night, we talked about calling the crisis hotline if you're feeling like you need to talk with someone or you're having some, feelings that really require you to have some other folks get involved. Please do that. You are important to yourself, but you are important to us too. So that's can't be understated. So please do reach out to somebody that you trust in your circle of influence or your circle of care, as you've heard me talk about. And if you can't do that, then, call 211 or some of the other crisis numbers and have a conversation with someone because you are tremendously valuable. And as I was saying before, when we're going over the Black History Month and having the conversations about the inventors and whatnot, as I said before, many of these folks didn't have necessarily any particular, scientific background, engineering background or things of that nature. Some did, but many didn't. And, their contributions to the world are quite prolific. And if they weren't here for whatever reason, then we don't have those things. So I think that's really, really, really important to consider that. And even if you're thinking that you are not you're not important or what's your contribution to the world, you have no idea what the impact that you make on other individuals, right? And it doesn't even have to be something significant as an invention. When you have conversations with people in the past, oftentimes you'll hear things like, I remember this teacher from the 3rd grade, or this person in my life really motivated me, or this person said something to me that really impacted and changed my life. And so that's really a big deal. Okay? So please do consider that. as I said before, reach out to folks. Don't stay isolated in that way. It's so easy to stay isolated in this environment with everything going on because we're supposed to social distance, and in that it can be pretty scary situation. So it looks like our guest is here. So I want to welcome Ashley. Ashley, how you doing? Can you hear me? I believe you are muted, sir. Go ahead and unmute yourself. All right, we can see Ashley, but he's on camera. He looks good. He's in his car, but he's muted, so I can't hear him. So if you just unmute yourself there, sir, then we'll be good to go. So he is on. We're just waiting for him to unmute and get us. There we go. How you doing, sir?
There we go. Good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad you can join us. Glad you can join us.
No.
So
No. There we go. Now I think we're connected now.
All right. How's it going?
Let me see. Are we connected? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Gotcha.
I am now pulling up. Let me stop here. Pulling up to the house. That way I'm not trying to be driving and talking on the podcast here. All right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Why don't I give you a few seconds? Because if you have me like on a stereo, then I'm going to get feedback.
Okay, so let me.
Yeah, just stay connected, but just wait until you get situated, and
Okay.
then I'll come back
Can
to
you
you.
hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Yep, you're good.
Hello?
Yep, you're good. You're coming through loud and clear.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I can't complain. I'm blessed and highly favored. For sure. Did you want to go inside, or are you gonna sit in the car?
Yeah. Let me go inside. That way I can get connected
go ahead,
back to.
Go ahead and get comfortable. Just don't.
I can set it up on my little stand that I was sitting in earlier. I was on a call earlier this morning with the Rotary.
All right. So staying busy doing the work.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. I was blessed to be chosen for what was it? For Black History Month. There was they chose me for some reason for the local hero. So that's why I said it's only by the grace of God that I was chosen for that. So I had to do that this morning. So now I am back. Thank you. All right, now I will get set up and we'll do our interview.
You know what's so interesting about folks like yourself that are out doing the work and have the spirit that you have is the humbleness already comes off you, right? It's like, oh, I was nominated. I don't know why, but it's the first thing you say. You would say, I'm just out here doing the work. But that's why you have the success and the impact on people, and people see the work and the gains that you're making in the community.
Well, yeah, I mean, like it's
see the smile. It's hard to accept, right?
Yes. All right, let me get my little stand here, and we're gonna be.
All right.
Go.
So while Ashley gets himself together, I'm gonna go ahead and read his bio. So Ashley Robinson is the Pro Basketball Association Regional Director of League Operations for the Northwest Division. Also, he is the Maximum Basketball League International Director. Ashley and Erica, his wife, are the owners of the Kitsap Admirals, right here, and the Texas Admirals, I need to hear about this, of the PBA, and has a long track record of taking his organization overseas and competing at a high level against clubs in Spain, Russia, and the UK. Ashley has deep ties in the Pacific Northwest and has been instrumental in league operations. A little bit about the Kitsap Admirals. They're an award-winning or a winning organization that makes a positive impact through a commitment to excellence in the community. And that is absolutely a true story, both on and off the court. And just a little side note to that, I met Ashley several years ago.
So I had to make sure the kids was good.
Oh no, you're good.
All right.
I met Ashley
Let's
several
see.
years ago. He and his wife Erica, and this is while I was
Yes.
teaching at Olympic College. And one of the courses that I taught was international business, and I thought it was really important to have um, one, two African American business owners come into a classroom in a small county where our population, our black population, is 3 to 4%, and talk about what it's like to do business internationally. And when you're in small counties, oftentimes what happens is we have very myopic viewpoints, right? Most people don't escape outside, 20 or 50 miles, in their circle of where they live. And so many of my students don't really leave Kitsap County. Maybe they go over to Seattle or something like that. Maybe they go to Texas or some other places to visit family or whatnot. But they're not going to China. They're not going to the UK. They're not going to Spain. And so it's one thing to go on vacation. It's a whole nother thing to do business with these countries and folks that are there. And so your acumen on customs and things like that, I think, are tremendously important. How old are you, Ashley? You mind saying?
I'm currently 43. I'll be 44 in July.
And how long have you been an owner of the Admirals?
This makes 10 years now.
10 years. So we're talking about 33-year-old business owner doing business internationally, right? So that's a powerful thing, and we need to see that. Again, the whole thing about the conduit is providing voice that's counter to the mainstream media, right? In so many different ways. The information that's put out there, the stereotyping, the fact that there are black men that are out there that are doing it, that stand and deliver, that are there and can be counted on, that are making an impact in the community. Strong black marriage. There's so many things that are at play here that people don't see, and they need to see more of it. This isn't the exception. This is the rule, and we're here to show that. So that's what that's about. Let me go ahead and finish this here. And so, so that's how I met Ashley and Erica. They strive to set a standard of integrity, honesty, and professionalism by providing high-quality programs while empowering, developing the future leaders of tomorrow. Absolutely agree with that. The Kitsap Admirals' goal is to form a successful international professional feeder program for coaches and players worldwide. The Admirals
Unknown caller.
pioneers. Hold on, I'm just getting a call here. Are pioneers among minor league teams throughout the United States. We are the 2015-2016 PAC Northwest champions, 2016 Tacoma Pro-Am champions, and the 26 Seattle Summer League Pro-Am Conference champions, 2017 NABL West Conference champions, wow, 2017 Zeke N runner-up, and 2019 UK WCBT runner-up. Y'all sound like the Lakers. The 2020 Maximum Madness runner-up, along with the victories over the NBL, the CBA, Division II Spain and Russia, and Super League Russia. So that is a mouthful. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thank you for having me. Like I said, it's an honor to be in the position in which God has allowed me to be in, especially as an African American man. With everything that, like I say, the stereotype that is in place about us. And so to be able to be a positive influence for others is very humbling. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Again.
So I want to, before we get into the questions, I want to know a little bit more about you and Erica and just how did this come to be? How did you get into this? How did this happen?
Okay. So, Erica and I, we met in '98. We was both military. She was in the Navy. I was in the Army. A mutual friend of ours introduced us. We actually got married in Hawaii. This year be year 22.
Ooh, black love, boy. Black love.
Yeah, and so, like I said, before starting the basketball part together, her and I, we had a whole nother venture, Christian online magazine. We had our own radio show. We had a Christian award show where we brought Christian hip hop to the church and helped to unify the body. So we did that for almost 10 years. We did little shows or we say spots for the youth to go to. which was like a Christian club setting in a sense that was just giving them the gospel, loving on them. So we did that for a number of years. Her and I have two amazing kids. Our oldest is our daughter, Ebony Janae, and then our son Tank is 13. He was born with hydrocephalus, so which then, of course, it added definitely a whole different dynamic to our life because now you enter into a whole nother world, especially when you start talking about disability. And
Gotcha.
so it's like trying to balance, our oldest daughter and what we're doing, and then having our disabled son come in the midst of also trying to run a business, not to mention, just marital, trying to learn how to be one. You know what I mean? Like I said, we got married. I was 20 when we got married. She's a little older than I. And so, for me as a young man, it was a lot of things that I didn't do, in a sense that we start talking about what husbands should do and be like. And so we had to learn and grow together through all of that. So to be where we at now, especially going over to, starting a business in the basketball world with honestly no money, just faith in God, and now to be international at every level from youth to adults to hold the positions which God has allowed me to hold with different leagues and with our expansion of our business into other states and things like that. It's things that we prayed and we believe God for. And so to see it come into fruition is very humbling. So that's sort of in a nutshell, real quick. She's from New Jersey. I'm originally from Memphis. And so that's in a nutshell who we are, real quick, as a family, about her and I in the background, I guess you could say.
So that's really remarkable. So now I've got to ask a follow-up question because marriage, right? I mean, even prior to marriage, just dating, being exclusive, getting to the point of marriage, it's hard to cultivate and maintain a relationship. But you're talking about children with disabilities, launching businesses. What advice can you give to young couples out there on how to cultivate a relationship and kind of work through times of struggle?
To be honest, this is something, of course, what I also had to experience and am experiencing. The foundation is Christ. You know what I mean? The foundation is really, if that's not there, God is not at the head and the core. Christ is not the one that is holding y'all together and y'all are really seeking after, then in the long run, what I found, and this is just personal experience. You know what I mean? It's going on almost 22 years. And so in that personal experience, you begin to try to find things outside of him to try to fulfill these things and understanding that we're never satisfied outside of him. And so what begins to happen is that begins to wreak havoc on your relationship.
The grass is never greener.
And now the two, you're trying to figure out things, find love or happiness and things like that in each other, where when it comes down to it, when you talk about what love really is the love of Christ. It's, beginning to understand what I had to look at was the Bible says your spouse, in a sense, is a helpmate. You know what I mean? So understanding that what she was there for was to help me to see the things in myself that God needed to work on, and vice versa, instead of pointing out the finger, and we here to encourage one another. And that's where we're at now in life, where we're seeing a lot of things, a lot of, God just restoring and rebuilding. As they say, his grace is really sufficient. So that's something I'm sure you're going to see very soon. Me and her have been talking about doing, like, speaking on these things because of what we had to go through and what we've seen, and understanding without that, honestly, the divorce rate and all of that will continue to keep going up without him. So that's the key, and why I'm still here with her, by his grace and his mercy and the call that's on our lives, and just the love in which he's instilled in both of us. We're seeing him transform the old into the new. As they say, the latter be better than the former. So that's my advice, is really, man, be around or grounded with people who have sound understanding of who God is, and not get caught up in religion and your own thoughts and things like that.
Gotcha. So now you're kind of talking about that circle of influence and your circle of support. That circle's got to be pretty sound of folks that are like-minded that aren't going to steer you wrong, right?
Right.
And I think that a
Yes.
lot of
Very
folks run
key.
into trouble with that. You know, it could be family members, it could be friends. You know, this one's been there for me. You know, been down like four flat tires, but now you know is giving you counter advice in your relationship, in your marriage, whether you sought it out or not. And you got to know, have the
True.
power of discernment that you know they're there to kind of drive a wedge.
That is so real. And that's one of the things, like I said, personally, I had to understand, I had to change my circle up as well. Along the way, as you continue to grow, you begin to see what it is or who are those in your lives or around that are speaking of things according to what you're standing on, or
Mm-hmm.
who's speaking in a sense on their own feelings and emotions and their own thoughts, which, you know what I mean? Now you think about it, that's what has been driving you this whole time
Mm-hmm.
that got you into the place in which you're at. So now we're like, I need that. I need the right person else to help keep me grounded, as they say, iron sharpens iron. So that is very key.
Well, I love the fact that you guys are going to share this information because, as I said, this isn't what is displayed out in the world, right? And it's not just the mainstream media, but just you know culturally in our own circles, right? You know, hip hop and
Yes.
the culture and you know that is not what it is. And here in 2021, I can tell you as a single man, you know, you see everything out there, right? It's you know, they want, you know, sugaring is a thing and open
Yeah.
relationships and open marriages. And
Yep.
I don't remember it being like that when I was married back in, you know, '06 and, you know, into the early teens when I was divorced. But, you know, getting back out there, it's like, oh, what happened? You know, this is wow, you know? And it's like, you know, I'm a little older, but I don't think I'm that old. I'm not old, like get off my lawn
Right.
old, like, but this is some new stuff. So, uh, and that you know we have feminism and some you know which I think has women's rights and empowerment of women is important, but I think that pendulum has kind of swung in a way where it's been damaging to relationships. When we talk about you know the prison industrial complex and you know not to get into too many politics, but
Definitely agree with that.
yeah, I wasn't a big
That's
fan of President Biden and all the things that he stood for during his 47 years of being in office, and you know the Biden bill and incarcerating
yes.
our brothers and sisters, but primarily our brothers, and then making you know our women, our mothers, reliant on the state, and then saying things like, well, he can't come back into the home when he's released, and he can't have benefits and this and that. And so I think there's so many things that have driven a wedge into the black community, into black relationships, and then we have our own you know issues too. That now we are where we are, and so it is the season of trying to find a way to come back together. You know, some folks that I like to listen to, you know, talk about, you know, the war, you know, the black man and the black woman have to end, and we have to come together and start growing together again, you know, and not attacking and doing those things. So, yeah, I just love it. I want to ask you one more thing because everyone is not
It's freezing
spiritual.
up a little bit. I'm hearing you. It's in and out.
It's okay. Well, don't worry about it. You keep talking. I've got a
Okay.
secondary recording. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So you
Okay.
know it'll pick it all up. You're coming in just fine. Um,
Okay. Good. I want to
but
make sure I don't miss it.
everyone is not a Christian, right? And so they may
Right.
not find the Christian God, or they may not believe in God at all. So if there
Right.
was something tangible that you could give people to say, okay, you know, I'm sure you guys still get into arguments and things like that. What are some of the techniques that you use to kind of you know work through issues that come up when there's struggle?
So now, uh, of course. So I always got to definitely put the disclaimer out there.
Yeah, I hear you.
Without Christ, like you said, that's the only way.
Hmm.
That's just been 100 because of the fact that I tried to do it without him. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I tried to walk this walk and try to figure this thing out in relationship wise without him. And what it did, it basically brought my own personal marriage to a place where God is now in the process of restoring. You know what I mean? Because of the fact that I try to you think about it, the world, or we get praised at that, for all the things, the bad things we do. So you gotta think, ex-military, ex-army. So I ran with a lot of guys, and so at that time, we're at the clubs, women, all of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's these things in which we're trying to, because of our own pride, our own ego, and things like that. It's no way that you can overcome these things without Christ. So that's why I had to put the disclaimer out there, because what's going to happen is, this is one thing that I've learned, right? It says that the Bible, you think about this. Now we're going to take it out of, instead of saying the Bible, I want to show you an example. Whenever there's a rule and you tell somebody what they can't do,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to want to do what they say we can't do.
Facts.
So therefore, if you tell me, here is the rules in a relationship, 10 out of 10, there's going to be things that you're going to be like, oh, you can't tell me
Mm-hmm.
what I can't do, or I did this because you did that. Instead of taking accountability to self and always holding self uh, in check, that's the biggest difference. You know what I mean? So with Christ, that's what it is. It's a mirror. It's a situation where it's saying, okay, he is the standard. And if he's the standard, not only is he the standard, but he's also is the one who's giving you the ability and the desire to do these things. So now I'm no longer trusting in myself and in my own strength. Now I'm trusting in him. Hey, God, you got to do it, because I'm going to keep it real. That right there, I can't do that, because I know my weakness. I know where I struggle. I know what you know what I mean? And so it begins, the roles begins to change. You know what I mean? Instead of me doing it, it's him doing it and through, because of what Christ already done. So that's why I say those things, because of the fact that what happened, you don't believe in God, that's, hey, there's no knock on you. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I woke up and said, God, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says he chose me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And my life is evident. If anybody who knows me, from old to now, they can tell you, they used to call me Rob in the military. Rob is not the same. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they saw me trying to live this thing through these rules and regulations. Oh, this is what it's supposed to be married, this and that. But yet I still had a mindset and actions as if I was single.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And now to this day, people are talking to some of these same people who's around me and begin to say, man, let me tell you just, how much I love my wife, this and that. And of course they know her and they see, how things have changed in a sense in me, because of the fact that my own personal sin had did so much damage, but yet his grace is sufficient. So by that, that's what I would say. So my challenge to anybody is say, okay, if you want to try to, I guess, standards, or if I want to give you a roadmap, I would say learn how to love unconditionally.
Mm.
So basically, don't love because of what they're giving you, or what you can get out of it. Just love them and just care for them, just because that is what real love is. So if you want to test it, test that. You know what I mean? Check yourself, always check yourself, always love, and don't think highly of yourself more than you should. Always love unconditionally.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. So what I took from that was, one, there's a saying that says, treat other people the way you want to be treated. And, it doesn't matter how they treat you, you're judged on how you treat others. So that's the end part that I got from that, is if you are loving your wife, regardless of what her action is, what you're saying is unconditional love, then you're doing your part, and more than likely, with your faith in God, things are going to work out if that is the path that God has for you. Was that accurate?
Yes.
All right. And so you're
Yes,
taking
I would say
accountability.
yes.
Okay. All right. I like that. And the other thing that I think is really powerful for people, young and old, doesn't matter, is
Right.
oftentimes, they'll say, oh, well, you know what, you got God, you got religion, so, it's different, but I'm in a non-secular, relationship, and this is how it is for me, so you just don't get it. And what you're saying is, no, I tried it the other way. I lived that way, and it didn't
Oh
work.
yeah.
It worked when we brought God into the house and put him at the head of our life. You know what I mean? So
Correct.
I think that's a big
That is
deal.
that is correct. That is 100% correct. Like I said, I have witnesses. You know, people that I ran with, people that I did things with, and even my wife can speak on these things. You know what I mean? And that's why I speak on them, because of, it's not about me. You know what I mean? It's really about giving God his glory, because I can tell you, like Paul said, man, I boast about my weakness, and this is what it is. I ran that course. I did these things. And when, start talking about this secular and this and that, that's why I had to go back and say, it's not like that I chose him, but yet he chose me according to scripture. I didn't first love him. It's because he first loved me. And because of his love, he changed me and continue to change me. And so who I am now is the fruit and the evidence of who he is. You know what I mean? So that's what it comes down to, is saying that, hey, no matter what side you're on, because I want to mess everybody up. I want to let everybody understand this. It doesn't matter what side. If you say, oh, I'm a religion or Christian, or I'm secular, we all going to suffer. So in this world, we're going to go through trials and tribulations. We're going to go through situations. We're going to go through certain things. And those things are to bring out a certain result out of you, right? So the difference is, on this side, what I would say as, a Christian, or the gospel is what we call it, or we say, that's our thing, is what it does. The Bible talks about Jesus learned obedience through suffering. So for Christians, what happened is through our suffering, and that's why when I'm not a religious person at all. That's, what I mean, when you talk about, and that's another sort of stereotype. Oh, religion. You know what I mean? Now, religion to me is not sound doctrine, not a right understanding of really who God is. You know what I mean? So religion is saying, hey, go a little harder. You got to have more faith. You got it. I've done that too. You know what I mean? Right, so it's like, okay, I was in the secular world, I was in the religious world, and now when I say the gospel is really God really taking a hold, and so having a sound doctrine and understanding of really who he is what has really is where I'm at now. So it's saying that, man, my suffering, my trials and tribulations, all of those things to bring me closer to him, because the end result is to be with him in eternity. You know what I mean? So even in the secular realm, what tends to happen, we go through trials, tribulations, and we begin to try to figure out, how do we fix it? What did we do wrong? You know what I mean? Or we get bitter, we get hurt. All of these emotions, all these things begin to really grab a hold of you and do something to you. And you're looking for someone to deliver you, or something to deliver you. You know what I mean? And so that's where you go to different vices and things like that, just to find out it's still not fulfilling what is needed. And so that's why I wanted to put that out there, to say, if we're both, the difference is Christ walks with me. He's already won it. You know what I mean? As we talk about on the cross, it's finished, it's done. And so I have the victory. The battle is not mine. The victory is mine. The battle is his. And so it's a part of the process. Where on the other side, it's still a process. It's just who's with you and what kind of fruit is it going to produce.
Facts. I think what's really powerful about that too is growing up, as a kid and into my adulthood. My father passed a few years ago, and he was Reverend Cameron, so he was an ordained minister, went to theology school and all that good stuff. And so it's definitely God, children, and watermelon are always on the menu. That was his saying, right? But I watched him go through tremendous trials and tribulations, right? Even at the end, he had diabetes, and they had to, take his toe, then his foot, then his leg, and he had, quadruple bypass surgery, and just all these other things. And I watched, the strongest man that I ever knew, in just tremendous pain, but still giving God the glory all through it, and watched as his faith was so strong. It didn't mean that there was going to be an absence of those trials and tribulations. As you said, he's going to go through it, but he didn't go through it alone. And he was able to keep his head up and still be filled with the Spirit and move through those dark times of his life, knowing that God was there for him and that he wasn't alone. And there were times when I couldn't understand it. It's like, most people would just crumble and be gone. And, you're dealing with this loss and that loss. We lost our brother at 24 to sickle cell, and, he had just moved to the East Coast, and just watching him navigate all of these hardships and still having that spirit. And it's like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? Yes. And that was God for him manifest. Yes. And people don't quite understand that. And so, like you said, you're going to go through it whether you recognize God or not. But if you can find that, you're still going to go through it, but you're going to go through it different.
Great.
Powerful stuff. All right, I really appreciate that. See, I didn't even know the conversation was going to go there. But again, that's the spirit to me, working in what people are probably going to need to hear, and that was our same interview yesterday with Reverend Hall, which was fantastic. So I am going to get into the questions, but I got one more question for you. So if there is something that you guys have issues or whatever, do you got like a thing of we don't go to bed angry, or do you pray together? Like I mean, what do you do when there's strife? As a business owner, things don't always go right. And sometimes you could turn in on the other person because you're looking for something to attack, but it's not them. Whatever the case may be, what are some of the tangible things that you do to, step 1, step 2, step 3? This is what I do when I'm frustrated with her and work through it.
You said, what are some of the tangible things that I do?
Yeah, like is it like I'm just gonna step away and pray about it? Do you guys have a pact where you're gonna just have a talk where it's like, hey, here's the ground rules. We're not gonna attack each other. We're just gonna talk about the issue.
So I have to say the things that I've learned, and this is what just where I stand, what I believe that is happening as a whole, right? And this is what's going on. We look at the pandemic, we look at all these things that has happened, that has been coming out with Black Lives Matter, all of these things that has happened in the last few years, 4 or 5 years, definitely last couple of years, and even where we're at now. So there's a shift, there's a new season. So in my new season, even before coming out of my old, where some of the tangible things in which really God has laid on my heart, what love really is, or it's basically, like I was saying, is just being able to be not supportive, just being able to be an ear to listen without, what just really being able to really, it's honestly love and unconditional, learning how to communicate, learning one of the things that I remember she used to talk to me about is understanding love language, and not only understanding love language, but you don't want to give someone your love language. You got to understand they communicate through their love language.
Oh, so you read the book, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good.
It's about educating, right? Uh-huh. So it's one of the things, because the Bible said, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things, Facts. Being able to have understanding. So being able to be with your mate, so with her, being able to listen to understand. Before, it was listen to reply. Oh, I'm feeling like trying to attack, or you're feeling this, and saying, you know what? But God, help me to listen into how can I be supported? How can I help? How can I begin to be able to be sort of that head or refuge, if you want to say, here physically for your spouse? You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that God has laid on me, is just listen to the things that is she really has a heart for, and say, how can I help assist you? You know what I mean? How can I serve you and serve my family? So that's what the tangible things is, learning how to be a servant. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the craziest thing is we all want to be served, but yet we don't want to, you know what I mean, serve anyone. Especially, I think, in a situation for myself, because of the accolades and the titles and what people may put you on a pedestal and say, oh, and yes, I can go and be in the world system, and I could probably, if I stayed on the secular side, it was definitely whatever I wanted, but it wouldn't have been good for me and my family as a whole. You know what I mean? And so to be over here now, and just God, just humility is now being able to have the accolades and the platforms in which He's given me, being able to have conversations like this. You know what I mean? So that's been a blessing, is being able to go through the different seasons, and now in this season here where I can speak on Him and I speak on me. So I think that's the biggest thing, is the tangible is listen to understand who you with. You know what I mean? Learn how to serve without wanting anything in return. Or serve or do it unto God, and expect your reward from Him, and not expecting it from whoever you're with. And don't look to that person to fulfill your happiness, your all of those things which they were never meant to fulfill.
Ooh,
You
that's
know what I
deep.
mean?
Yeah,
And
that's
that's one
deep.
of the biggest things. We try to go to man to fulfill, or a woman to fulfill something in the flesh, which it's something in our spirit, our inner being is crying out for more. And that'll never happen. Flesh can't fulfill the things of the spirit. The spirit got to be fulfilled by the spirit. And the beauty of that, once that's fulfilled in the spirit, then the flesh can become fulfilled. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say. Tangible things is in my new season when I was saying the shift, and that's what I see. Just some of the personnel that I talk to, my group that God has in my circle, that we all have went into this shift or this season where God is bringing us closer. Marriages, family, things are changed, and we have this like-minded understanding of it's about serving and not being served. So have that mindset in your relationship and see what happens.
You know,
And you'd be surprised.
I love what you're saying there, and to kind of give an analogy or a comparison, oftentimes we might have that friend that needs a favor, right? We loan them some money, or we give them money, but it's really a loan, and we want it back, and we feel some kind of way, to me, it sounds like, if you're going to help somebody, and you're going to give them something, then you give it freely with no expectation to get it back. And so if you're serving God and you're serving your spouse, then you are going to be there for that person and listen, right? And you don't have any expectation that they may necessarily be listening back at that particular time. That's not the time. You're being there for them, and that's it, right? I have no expectation, and everything will work itself out. And I don't know if it's in the Bible or not, but it says, seek first to understand before being understood, right? And oftentimes we want to be understood. I need you to hear me, but no, you need to listen and understand what they're saying first. And if both sides are doing that, then you're going to cut through all the noise and get to what the root is, and you're going to work through things a lot easier.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, yes.
All right. I wanted to touch on that because it's like, it's powerful. But oftentimes, when we talk about spirituality and religion, it just seems so kind of foggy and macro. And it's like, but I don't understand what do I do? And I think those are things that anyone can do, whether they're on a journey with God, where they're at in their journey with God, if they ever find God, whatever the case may be, those are some things that they can do to improve their relationships with someone that's a significant other, or even their friendships,
Right.
All right, so thank you for that. Like I said, that was not the way that we were going to go, but hey, it goes where it goes. So now let me get into some of these questions. And the big one is, what does Black history mean to you? You don't have to really talk about the month, but just overall, what does Black history mean to you?
Can you repeat that again? I caught the
I said,
last
what
part,
does Black history mean to you? What does Black history mean to you?
So what it means, right? Great question, right? So when we start talking about Black history, now we can go into really the history of our people. You know what I mean? You can go back as far as what has happened beyond, because see, a lot of folks want to start or begin to speak on slavery, but we need to go beyond that because that's not where we started. That's not where
go ahead.
That was the thing. You know what I mean? So now we got to go deeper and go back to who God really created us to be. You know what I mean? Who we are in Him. You know what I mean? So when we start talking about Black history, as a people, we have to begin to really go beyond slavery and stop allowing. We need to come together as a community. You know what I mean? So we talk about the systematic, system in which we're in, and go back to slavery and so all of these things happen. Yes, I agree. All of the negativity, all the things that's bad has happened to us as a people, and we all can sit back and say, "Oh, the system is not created for us, and it's doing this and doing that." But as a people, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? As a people, are we really trying to come together and really support one another? As a people, are we coming together and begin to encourage one another instead of still the system in which we have been placed in? Why continue to operate in that system, but yet still point fingers on the outside and begin to say we have to make a change? You know what I mean? So Black history, we can begin to look at and say, we can look at the resume beyond slavery, even through slavery, all the way to now. And we see all the many accomplishments that we have. And we still have, built this, as we can say, America on our back, and all the things that we continue to do for the world, and begin to say, okay, Black history, let's begin to take, I would say, pride in who we are as a people. You know what I mean? And as a people, you begin to say, okay, and now how can we, like I said, going back to unifying, and for myself, it's humbling because I think it was a few years ago, because I was a high school coach at Bremerton for the girls, and I did that for about 5 years, and in that community for the school, for the young, being able to have an effect on the young people, for them to mention myself as a pillar with like the likes of Marvin Williams, who's in the NBA, and some key leaders, Bishop Robinson, God bless his soul, he's passed on, key leaders who have been pillars in the community. So to be mentioned in that, and then that could be a part of Black history. And then even today, I was blessed to be considered as a local hero for North Kitsap, once again for Black history. Now I begin to have to look and say, okay, what is the difference when we start talking about history? What was so great about me? You know what I mean? What have I accomplished? What have I done that I should be included in history for us? You know what I mean? And so you begin to go back and say, one of it was the heart just to love and to endure and just to try to build up our people to really pour out our life, you know what I mean, for others. And so we think of Black history for me is saying that we live beneath our means in a sense of who we are as a people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We don't, for some reason, as a whole or just groups, that's part of my fight as well, as just saying, I'm an example. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I guess you would say I shouldn't have made it. However you want to say it, came out of a small town of Bremerton that's now international. And we've done all of these things, but yet God has did these things. You know what I mean? He continue to do those things. And so that's a part of when you talk about Black history. That's why I look at, honestly, I go back to also what I stand on and what I believe on our creator of God himself. You know what I mean? And so you start to look at the Savior and you look at and say, oh man, look at how he is, his description in the word, but yet what they paint in the world is completely different. So when you talk about Black history, let's really know our history. Let's really go back to our source and begin to rely back on our source, and begin to really push as a unit to be who God had told us that we are, and what we're going to be, not even become. We are these, this is who we are now. So Black history, let's begin to really continue to make history. So that's what it needs to continue. We made history, we continue to make history, and we're not going to stop making history. So let's begin to change the negativity and begin to push the positive in the forefront, and let's ride as a unit to that beat instead of marching to the old.
All right, I love that answer, and and I tell people all the time, it's just like you said, Black history didn't start at slavery, it started back in the motherland, and all of that history then, and you need to know your history, not only to know where you're going, but where you can go, right? Because there was so much greatness and whatnot that existed pre-slavery, during slavery, post-slavery. And you do need to know what your history is, what the real history is, the full history. But then at the same time, there is a present history that is being made today. And we've got to get out of the slavery of the mind mentality, right? Like you said, we're under a system that we're in, but it's almost like, well, then why even try? What's the point then? If this is what it is, then why even dare to become a business owner, to serve other people, to serve God, to be more, to dream, and to personally and professionally develop? What would be the point? And the thing is that if we can break that mentality, and break those mental chains, sky's the limit. There's nothing that we can do, right? You're Memphis. I'm Buffalo, New York. My mom had me when she was 16 and gave me up to the foster care system because she couldn't take care of me. And there's the stats that say a Black man isn't supposed to make it past their 18th birthday, or how many people don't. And I was one of those stats, right? I almost died right before I turned 21. But you don't know what you can become. You don't know what you can do. You don't know who you're going to impact. And
Yes.
I'm doing a series on black leaders and inventors of our history that they don't talk about, because it's always Sojourner Truth or Frederick Douglass or Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. So I'm talking about, the guy who, invented the yellow light for the traffic light, or the refrigerated trucks for, getting blood around, innovations on the ironing board, even the super soaker, and just these
Oh, wow.
things that are not only, back in the 20s or the 1800s, or, it's not just George Washington Carver, and that's great because that's who I learned about, but that's who everyone learns about. There's so many
Right.
contributions that we've had over time, and they're not celebrated. And it is our responsibility, not the dominant society, for us to put that out and to educate our own and to celebrate, right? We need to shift on who we celebrate and who we acknowledge, right? That's on us. So they could tell
Yeah.
us who's important, but it's on us to say, no, this is who's important and this is why they're important, and we need to elevate them. So, today, sir, I elevate you and acknowledge you for all that you have done for this community and continue to do, because you are absolutely Black history and have already made gains in people's lives, that when they're old and they think back on people that were influential in their life, maybe help them change, may see things differently, they will attribute that to you and Erica. So, absolutely, everyone listening to this needs to understand that they are Black history. And the history you make is the history that you decide to make, and you choose that, right? That's not something that's chosen for you. So yeah, thank you for that. That's awesome.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
So, so let's talk about another big thing that plagues our community and a lot of our single Black men, for sure. What can be
Okay.
done to reduce homelessness, either here or nationwide?
I didn't catch the question.
Oh, I said, what can be done to reduce homelessness, either here or nationwide?
To reduce homelessness. Well, it always go back, right, to going back to what we was talking about. Not only say the education piece, but the unity as a body, right? So what happens is we have to begin to change our thinking, right? Understanding, yes, we. One thing about us as a people, we're conquerors. You know what I mean? We've been put in some of the worst situations, but yet God has allowed us to come out and be prosperous and be victorious. And so I think that's one of the things that I'm looking at, and I know it's a part of what I've been allowed to do with the Admirals. Is part of it is begin to find those who may lack, or they made probably wrong decisions along the way or whatever, and then you begin to come together as a body and you begin to support those that thing there. So I think the biggest thing is being able to cut back, is to somebody. He was born. Okay, let's see. So to begin to change that portion, yeah, I begin to wonder, well, not to say, because you understand the system is not really created or whatever. We're limited to what we can get as far as resources. But what about our community, us as a people? You know what I mean? What are we doing to put in place? Do we have? I mean, some people celebrate, oh, the big name people who may have put some money to do this and do that. But what about the smaller community? What about where we don't have all the resources that people don't give back, but it's enough of us to come together and begin to help one another? You know what I mean? If it is the job opportunity, it's beginning to. Cece's, I can't find it. Cece's in the room. No, Cece's in the room. Yeah. Hmm? But take the room and get Cece. And get Cece? Yeah. Okay. And so what that's what how my thought, because I've been able to be around some of my good friends who have experienced homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And just being able to hear the story and be able to be a part of their helping them to get back to a place where they're stable. You know what I mean? And what was that? It was all about support in any kind of way, form, or fashion that they may need. So I think that's one of the biggest things as a people. If we can begin to come together and begin to to provide resources and support and real help uh, to personnel who are really trying to make a change, who want to make something better. You know what I mean? I think that that's the key, and I think part of that is just encouragement, just being able to love on them. Love, we underestimate real love. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I think that that's the biggest thing that can help us is just once again because we're not unified. A lot of things for us as a community. That's why we have a lot of things. We wouldn't say fall through the cracks, but it just happened because part of what was put into the system, which was put in, was to separate and keep us separated. And so, therefore, we're isolated and we're going through situations and we're looking down at the next person because of whatever it may be. So, if we come together, I really believe that we can have a better impact on helping even with homelessness as a community.
Gotcha. You know what? That's a really interesting answer that you gave, and it really one of the things that I've been talking about as I started this podcast is I talk about locus of control. Right? There's the external
Uh,
things that we can't control, but they are the internal things that we can control, and so we can control what we do and where we spend our energy, right? And what you're saying is look, we don't need to look to the government. Yes, we could use the government help and this and that, but it really does start with community, right? And they say charity
yes,
starts at home. So you need to, come together and start to solve the problem. And one thing about, people will, don't kill the messenger, or the devil might tell the truth sometimes. Whatever you feel about, ex-President Trump, make America great again. People were thinking, oh, that means white sheets and this and that, and who knows what he meant by that. But back during the civil rights era, you know, our people were going through far harsher conditions, but we were married in higher percentages. We had, I was just telling the story about how in the neighborhood, my dad could be at work, and, there are other
yep,
families on the neighborhood that knew who we were. We were safe. They could discipline us. There was a trust there, and we don't have that now. And so in some ways, we were stronger back when the struggle was harder. And we need to look back to some of those things and kind of pull that sense of community together, and like you said, wrap our arms around our community and love on folks, and then provide those resources to people. And they're so isolated when they need that second chance, or they need that place to be able to breathe and figure out what the next step is, and where's the support going to come from. I don't know what to do, where to go, how to even
yeah,
proceed, but I need to do it now, and everything just seems to be cut off, right? And then when I try and I fall, a lot of people are like, yep, well, you're done. You've had your chance. We're going to do this. So, yeah, no, I think that answer is really interesting. And I think going forward, and I think, behind the scenes, we've got, a lot of things that are going on in the community where we're actually trying to do just that. But being a little bit more intentionally collaborative, I think, does go a long way. And it's one of the things that my father and I have talked about.
I agree, right?
Uh,
Especially on that part. So I always wanted to try to be some kind of example. So being an example, coming out of the same community, that in Bremerton, and at that time, what was that, 33? I mean, so younger into a whole brand new business, uh, not really having, not to say I had the right support, I mean, family support, wasn't a lot of outsiders outside of my immediate family, my wife, my kids, my mom, certain those key it was Sean, Dr. Joseph. It was a couple of them that have been right there with us, Ron Atkins, who have been there and gave themselves, right?
mm-hmm.
And we just sort of tried to stay together, believing that we could make a change, and what the organization was able to really, like I told, I used to work for the Boys and Girls Club. I used to be the director there, the teen center. And I remember doing a fundraiser. And in the fundraiser, we had to write like different signs and sort of flip it and say, okay, this is who I am and this is what I stand for, what I want to do type thing. And I remember making this bold statement that said that all I ever wanted was an opportunity.
Mm.
but now I'm able to provide opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So now thinking like that, what happened is here it is 10 years later, out of the same community, just that handful of personnel that God allowed us to have and be around, we're now an international company who's taking youth as well as adults to other countries, learning about other cultures and beginning to have confidence in themselves and really learn what the world is about, not just in sports. It's just loving on them, mentoring, just being a part and giving them that confidence to attack the world when they do get out of school and say, hey, I may play or may not play, no matter what, but at the end of the day, I have that, that confidence that I have people who support me and that I can make it. And so I think that's one of the things now being, coming out of our community and saying, hey, started in Burlington, but now we're expanding to Texas, one of the largest states, you know what I mean, in the US. We have a branch that's out there. We have relationships in Louisiana. We have, but you begin to say, all off of support, and love, and it doesn't take a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine if everybody come together who do have resources like we do, now, and you begin to build up the next generation, the next leaders, because that's what it comes down to. That's how I look at it. I was like, hey, my days, I don't know how long I have. So if I can begin to raise up the next generation and help change their mindset, that'll make more of a difference in the long run, for my children's children and their children, then I may not see it, but at least let me be able to plant some seeds and show them what it may look like. So that's honestly how I look at it, just saying, hey, let me be your example.
Mm-hmm.
I've done these things, and I'll tell you something that I haven't tried. I've been through a lot of these heartaches and pains and all of that good stuff, but it was worth it because now I see the impact and how it's changed a lot of young folks' lives, and they're going to be the next leaders after once we're done. Of course, we're starting to definitely come to the position and do a lot more things, but then you got to raise up who's going to replace you.
Facts.
So that's how I look at it, and I think by coming with that mindset and us being examples, because like you said, that was a difference back when we grew up. We had community. We had, you had those things that is missed with technology and everything that's happening, especially now with the pandemic. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my. So I agree. I think if we do that, that'd be a major change for the world as a whole.
All right, I like it. All right, so let's switch to another question. Now, what do you think about the $15 minimum wage? I mean, what will truly be the impact on that? In Seattle, they've passed it, so they're finally getting there. The party in office now is talking about it. We don't know if it's going to go through or not, but unfortunately, even if it does, it's not going to set in until 2025, and to me, it's not a livable wage even now, but 5 years from now, it's not going to be. And some of the arguments you hear is, well, if companies, and we're both business owners, so if we have to pay people $15 an hour and, benefits and everything else, that it is destructive to small businesses, which means that we have to have people part-time or have a smaller business because we can't bring people on. Just what are your thoughts about $15 minimum wage and the impact on the economy and the people at large?
Well, so I mean, $15 an hour 5 years from now, I agree with you. It doesn't help. You know what I mean? You have to look at we've been hit with a pandemic that's constantly just closing down, businesses and as people make, far as forcing homelessness, and it's just creating more issues. So you're telling me, 5 years from now, you're going to give me $15 that maybe even, especially I think in Washington, the cost of living is ridiculous. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion, especially coming from the South. You know what I mean? Living in the South, and, but then there's also, you make good money, but you got to look at too, especially in our community, right? So that's what we got to really address too, is the fact that we're not properly paid or we're not compensated at the same rate, you know what I mean, as our counterpart. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you give us $15 an hour 5 years from now, our cost of living and everything just to barely scrape by and just to make it, we're already struggling. So to me, I don't see honestly how it would help 5 years from now at $15 an hour. And this is definitely speaking on our community. I look at my kids, and say, okay, my habit order that is 19. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is begin to help teach her how to be an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? What it looks like to create your own, because like you said, like I told her, I'm a teacher how to fish. Because if you're constantly depending on somebody, then the end result is what we still see, in a sense, like especially for our community, because of the fact that the system wasn't never designed for us to be successful. So $15 an hour, 5 years from now, I just don't see it being really beneficial. It just continues to keep us in that same mindset, in the same place in which not saying we are now. I believe we've come a long way, but if we're going to continue to really change, we have to once again come together and make it happen.
All right. So, what if they were able to hit a switch and make it $15 an hour today? Would that be sufficient?
So even honestly, $15 today because of the crisis in which we're in? No. You have to really look at all of like the what's happening in the world. You know what I mean? Once again, if it was $15 today, looking at the fact that most people might have been out of work for almost over a year, they're behind on bills, all of these things in which they're in this hole. So then you say, okay, here's $15 today. Well, that's an hour. You know what I mean? So you still got to try to build it, work it. Just 15 an hour, it doesn't, even in today, I don't see it being beneficial because of everything in which we are currently in and what we're coming out of.
Right. And what I try to tell folks is this, the messaging that we get from the mainstream media and the conversations of those that dominate the discussion, they don't actually talk about what $15 an hour looks like. So if you do the quick math on it, $15 an hour, if you're blessed to have a 40 an hour, a week job, that's $600 a week. Every 2 weeks is $1,200. So every month, you're going to get about $2,400. Your taxes and your unemployment and all the things that you're going to have to pay is about 20%. So if you multiply that by 0.8, you're going to take home about $1,900 every month. Well, a one bedroom, even if you're a single person, it costs you $1,000. You've got $900 left. Right? You've got electricity, you've got water, you've got trash, you've got your cell phone, you've got your internet, right? You've got food. You may have a car. Maybe you got a car payment. You're definitely going to need fuel. You need insurance. You have maintenance. If you're on the bus, that's going to increase your costs because, you know what I'm saying? There's not enough money. But then you're telling people that they need to save and they need to invest. There's no money to do that. I'm already in deficit. That's the issue, and no one talks about the actual numbers of what that looks like. And so people aren't surviving as it is, right? They are suffering, and so $15 isn't enough, and they do need to bring that wage up far beyond that, and we know that's not going to happen. And I was going to ask you a question, but I think I already know the answer to it. Does that mean that we do nothing? I mean, we've got to take what we can get. The federal minimum wage hasn't been raised in several years. I mean, I think it's been more than a decade or more that it's been raised anyway. But that is truly the issue, and I don't think that because of the way that it's portrayed in the media, that it's like, hey, this is such a big jump and it's going to be harmful to businesses. Yeah, some businesses aren't going to be able to compete. But the American, capitalism doesn't say that you are entitled to be in business, right? Business is for those that can survive and strive. I mean, that's what we say. We're in this capitalistic society. So on the one hand, you can't say this is bad for business when it's only the strong survive. But then on the other hand, you're not even going to take care of your own citizens. So it's kind of hypocritical.
Right.
And I want to get past to being hyperbolic and saying, hey, look, let's look at what the actual numbers are. Look at the cost of living and what it actually means. means. And that was just for one person. Oh, and we can add student loans in there also. So I'm actually going to do a podcast on that where I actually break down all the numbers. I'm going to use myself, and
Right.
when you talk about the Black community, when I first started at
Yeah.
Olympic College, I was required to have a master's degree to make $19.75 an hour.
Oh, wow.
That was the requirement, right? And you can say, well, go and do another job. Well, I got a master's degree in education, right? At top of my class type thing, and you're going off and you're doing what you
Master's
can.
degree to make under $20 an hour.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right? And people don't see that. And then you have the student loans and everything else, and and it's too much, right? It's too much. And when you partner the fact that our relationship base needs to strengthen because we have to do it together, right? We're not typically in a society where the spouse can stay at home and raise the kids. We're usually in a two parent income home.
Yep.
And that's how it's got to go. But if we don't know how to get together, stay together, and then build together, then we're just out here and it's really difficult.
Yes, I agree.
But these conversations aren't happening. You know what I'm saying? So they're happening now. This is what the Conduit's for.
Yes, it's much needed, and I believe, like, going back to the season, this is the season in which, like, even for myself, I now feel like more of a voice that needs to be heard. You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing is let's address situations and begin to come up with real solutions as a community on how we're going to do it and need people to walk this thing out. You know what I mean? We can come up with ideas, and if it just sit there or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, that was great, but what was the outcome? It's still the same because it had to move. And so I think that's the thing too, is being able to, I love your show, being able to address issues. Let's really talk about it. Let's get to the root and figure out how we can, basically, we got to pull the problem out by the root and not just cut the top off and act like, no, it's still there. We got to address it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the way to do it.
And I think we need to talk to it, from our perspective. When they talk about, we've got to get back to full employment. Well, full employment was still double-digit unemployment for the Black community. So now it's like, oh my God, the rest of society is in double-digit unemployment, and we've got to do something that's a crisis. And then when they get back to full employment, we're still at double-digit. So, well, we've been living there the whole time, but society at large is operating like, hey, we're doing great. It's like, no, we're not doing great. So we need to talk about what we've got to do from our perspective to move forward and make gains and grow. You know what I mean?
Right. I agree.
So to that end, what do you feel about the vaccine? What do you think about the vaccine? We're shifting to COVID now. You still with me? You able to hear me, Ashley?
You said we're shifting
to COVID. What do you think about the vaccine?
That's a great question, right? I'm glad you asked that because I have to say, just the last few days, I was able to hear something, an interview from someone. So, of course, I was getting my hair done with my locks. I had to get them retwisted, and I was at this little salon that I just found out, not showed me out here in Virginia. I stopped at, and so my stylist began to say, hey, she asked me sort of the same thing, what is your take on it? And of course, right away, I went with the man, nope, I don't even want to hear about the type of situation because it's one of those, as a people, we've been, we're in a sense tested on and all kind of craziness. And so it's going to be set up to take us out. Right. And so I began to just be like, I'm not even trying to hear. Although I know some personnels personally who have already been through or going through the vaccine process. And so after watching the video, I began to go back and think about, oh, it's the lack of knowledge. You know what I mean? Because you got to understand the media, they're going to put out what they want us to know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're not going to tell the truth, and so when I began to see, it was actually a video that Dame Dash did. He did an interview. I forgot the doctor name, but she took the vaccine. She began to educate and began to give her points and her take on everything that was going on, or with the vaccine, what's behind it, all of this and that. And they brought on, and she began to help hit or hit questions that, as a community, that we would ask. Well, what's in it? How we know this is not going, they're getting one thing, water, and they get missing that. Or how we know all of these questions that is negative because of what we've been through as a people. And one of the points that she brought out was like, if you can understand that if this virus hurts us as a people the most, if it's taking us out, more than any other race, then if there's a vaccine, there's something that can possibly slow it down or help you any way it go. What is it? If you don't take it, you're guaranteed, if you call, you end up catching it. It doesn't look good. If you choose to take this as a precaution to hopefully help save you or keep you safe, then why not, in a sense, do it? And so what happens, where I'm at right now, I'm more open in a sense, and just really, for me, that's where I have to say I go on what I believe. Mm-hmm. And when I say what I believe, it's just stand before God. You know what I mean? God, what do I do? You know what I mean? I don't want to make a decision off of my own knowledge or own understanding, because that, like I said, watching that video, it opened me up, because I was on this one track note, and I was a part of the group that everything was negative, instead of trying to open up and really let me do my own research. Let me begin to really find out what's going on more in details, instead of allowing the masses to tell me what to do, or the media and things like that. So that's where I'm at right now when it comes to the vaccine. Like I said, I do know some personnel personally who is taking it. And of course, just like everybody else, you're going to watch and see what's going to happen. Doesn't mean that what happened with them is going to happen with you.
True story.
There's always some, like one thing she says, side effects with everything. You know what I mean? And everything is different with different personnel. So, of course, they talk about the conspiracy theory, things like that. For me, is there an agenda for everything? Yes, there's always an agenda. There's always a motive. You know what I mean? That's just what life is. Mm-hmm. It's always a motive for some reason. And of course, money, the love of money is the root to all evil. So of course, you begin to look at the dollars and how all this money is getting transferred and shipped over to certain groups and this and that. You begin to look at everything. So that's where I'm at. It's just like learning to do more research on what's really going, what's happening, and seeing, and definitely stand before God. So that's where I'm at. I'm still, I'm in that place. Because, like, example, my dad, he works for FedEx in Memphis, Tennessee. And so that's one of the things that he is going through the process. You know what I mean? Because his job is mandatory. So it's like I said, older people, younger people, I know them all. So it's just one of those, just like, okay, God, I have examples that are going to be going through it. Most of all, listening to God. What do we do, as my family? How do we move forward? But it is a great question. It's great. It's something that I would encourage everybody, especially our community, please do your own research. Don't just say, no, I'm not going to do it. It's, as they say, I've heard it's the market of the beast. It's not, you hear a lot of negative, and then there's no positive. And so you just automatically just thinking the worst. And I'm going to go with, nope, I'm not going to do that, instead of really doing the research. Us as a people, let's do our own research. One of the things that the doctor did say, there was a Black doctor who was actually part of the process of coming up with the vaccine, you know what I mean, which we don't hear about. You know what I mean? So do research. So that's where I'm at.
What's interesting too is if you could it is really paramount for people to do their own research. The issue becomes, what is your research? What are your sources, right? So it needs to be reputable, and oftentimes we're looking at YouTube or Google or Twitter, and it's like, yeah, no, I did my research. Twitter told me this, Google told me the same thing, and YouTube told me that, and I'm not taking this vaccine. And it's like, but where did they get their information from? You got to try to get as close to the source as possible, and that's going to require you to do some reading, right? But you just can't take everything on face value, and that is a true danger. And we're just having this information spoon-fed to us without any investigation, and we just kind of go along to get along. My father has a saying, and he would say, go where you're not wanted, right? And so we would go to white areas to receive services, and you would get better customer service. You get, better quality of product and things like that. And so when we're looking at Florida, which has the richest zip code in the country, all of them got vaccinated, and they're on an island. And they were wondering how all these people got vaccinated. Well, they got money, so that's how they got vaccinated. When you watch and see how the push was equity, right, along the lines of, hey, we're going to make sure that black and brown people get this vaccine, because we don't want to have that happen. But now you look at the data, and black and brown people aren't getting the vaccine at the numbers that they're supposed to be getting it. Then it's like, okay, so the dominant society is getting this vaccine. Well, maybe there's something to this,
Right.
Maybe you need to look at it like that, and that's that critical thinking piece of it. So,
yeah.
But then I heard from someone that's well respected and said, well, you know what, they're giving you a different dose. And I'm like, well, you know what, that's a lot of moving pieces now to ship fake doses or a placebo to certain areas and not, the real dose to other people. I mean, has the government done some insidious things, the Tuskegee experiments? Yes, indeed. But that's a lot, right? And so at some point you got to go on faith. My best friend who is in the medical field, he's gotten the first and second dose, and I still haven't gotten it yet. I'm still kind of in a wait and see type thing. I'm a little afraid of the second dose and the side effects, but I do isolate, a lot. So I'm in a place where I can wait and see, because they've got the 2-shot vaccine, Johnson & Johnson. There's the 1-shot vaccine. We've got original COVID-19. We got the 3 strains from the UK, South Africa, and South America. And now they're saying there's 7 new viruses from right here originated in the U.S. So how effective is the vaccine going to be that you get that was for the original one? So I can wait and see, because I believe in social distancing, so I'm good there. But yeah, right now I haven't gotten it. But I do look at different sources. I do read some of the medical journals. I do, and I think that's important to go through more than just YouTube or Facebook or, something that you see in even our newspapers, because we know that can, they're trying to give you information that they want to give you. And I tell folks again, CNN, Fox News, ABC, MSNBC started off as news, right? But we've been saying that the news has been fake long before Trump started talking about the news was fake, right? And now it's more opinion and not news. There may be some news in there, but it's all opinionated. So you cannot listen to that stuff, take it in, but then you need to do your due diligence and go back further and see where they're sourcing that information.
I agree.
All right, I like that. All right, I'm gonna give you a softball question. How do you define friendship?
I think, like I said, going back to the credibility of your resources and what you're getting your information from, I think that's another great way for, we start talking about community, is being able to share, let's share knowledge, let's come together, let's really have understanding what it is that we're facing. And like you said, and where we're receiving this information from, and why is it credible? Why isn't it not credible? And really examine what's going to be the best, what's going to be best for you as a whole. Because one thing we all have to understand, at some point, we all going to leave. We all got expiration date. You know what I mean? And so that's one of those things that is a reality that I'm really has continued to grasp to say, okay, well, I'm just passing through in a sense. And so God knows He's the one who's constantly keeping me alive each and every day and functioning. And so let me just be wise with whatever choice or decision that I make now. So I agree.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. All right, so let me ask you another question. So, how do you define friendship? Well, what makes a good friend?
Friendship. So friendship now, I guess you define friendship in a sense, as they say, what you not say what you give out. So I look at myself. I look at the ones who I call my friends, right? And it goes sort of back to that whole unconditional situation. You know what I mean? It's a thing that, man, as a friend, I'm willing to lay down, and since my life and vice versa. You know what I mean? Not for doing nothing that's dumb, in a sense, and I say dumb, I mean putting yourself in harm's way, you know what I mean? And then expecting this person to come and save you or be a part of that. But I say a true friendship is we continue to hold each other down and have each other back no matter what's going on in life. Being able to support one another, and really, so we can laugh together, we can cry together, we can be transparent to one another. You know what I mean? And just really be able to be who you are without judgment. You know what I mean? That's how I feel like a real friendship, like the people who are around me, that we can talk about whatever, and encourage one another and support one another without making the person feel bad or about whatever decision, because we all fall short. We're all gonna make a wrong move here or there, and bad enough, I'm gonna beat myself up. So I don't need, my so-called friend, to beat me up with me, but really begin to encourage and help make it through whatever's going on. So friendships, what I consider a friendship is just really what I'm hoping or what I try to offer to those who I call, well, not just who I call friends, and what I offer, I believe that they will also offer back. You know what I mean? You begin to value the very fact that real friends is very rare.
Mm-hmm. 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 So let me ask you this, because a lot of folks that we work with, and I think you would agree with this, and we work with a wide spectrum of folks that are working on their journey towards self-sufficiency. But they have a bad picker, so to speak, right? They pick bad boyfriends and girlfriends. They pick bad friends, and they don't have a great power of discernment on who. They use that term too loosely. This is my friend. So
Right.
how do you identify who is actually a friend versus an acquaintance or just someone you even know?
Okay. So like this is a good one, right? So a friend, you should be able to they should be able to speak truth, or you know what I mean. Truth is the key.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, out of love, not out of what I mean, trying to belittle or this and that, but be able to, if I'm wrong, hold me accountable. You know what I mean? If whatever it may be, don't allow me to continue to go down this wrong path. Or, I'm not looking for someone to like hurrah cheer me on as I'm going down the wrong way, but I need someone who help fix and to confront and to support. Here is how we can do it together, right? So I think that that's one of the things that when I look at friendship, when I look at the people that has been a part in my life in that circle, I begin to go back and I can see how they have stepped up and they've spoken and they held me accountable. And even when I was wrong, they were still there,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. And so that freedom of being able to just love on one another and just speak truth no matter what. I think that that's the biggest thing. I think that's what a true friend would do, would speak truth in your life to try to help you to be successful in any way.
Nice, nice. Would you also agree that it's important, if you are being a friend to someone else, that if you see something that you believe they may be doing wrong, at the same time that you are calling that out and holding them accountable, you also have to set aside your own biases and not project what you want onto them.
Right. Yes. 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 I definitely I agree on that, right? Because everybody life is different. Everybody have their own journey, and so to me, a real friend, you learn how to help, not only encourage but help them on their journey. You know what I mean? You get to understand and get to know them because that's part of friendship,
Right.
right? A true friendship is really understanding who it is that you're walking alongside of.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so to do that, you have to have that time together to really maybe catch their vision, catch their understanding, catch whatever it is that they're opening up. So that's the part of the listening part. You know what I mean? Let me listen and really have a heart for you. And so when I help you, it's really helping you. It's not helping me to get what I want. It's helping you to accomplish or to achieve what it is that you need to accomplish. With on the back end, I don't want or need anything, or should I desire any praise or anything from it. It's just, I just want to love on you. I just want to help you and see you be successful in anything that you do in life.
Right. And I think even if it's not a tangible thing that that person is getting, they shouldn't help that person. It's like, you know what, I'm going to help you get what you want, but only if you do it the way that I want you to do it. That's the way I'm going to help you. Right. And you get that oftentimes. And I think that is problematic. It's great that you want to help me, but then you're only going to provide the help if I do it this way.
Yeah.
It's like, are you really being a friend then? That's
Right.
you see that a lot.
How can it benefit both of us? That's sort of the thing. I want something out of it, as well. And if I can't benefit from it some kind of form of fashion, I don't know if I really want to help you or help you as much as I could help you because I'm not getting anything from it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. I love it. I love it. Tell us something about you that people may not know. What do most people not know about you?
Say that again.
Tell us something about yourself that most people don't know about you.
Uh, okay, so this is okay. All right. All right, here we go. So most people really don't know, and of course, they'll probably have more of an understanding once they hear the podcast on why I speak so heavily on my beliefs. Most people doesn't don't know that I'm actually an ordained licensed uh, pastor, bishop. I've been that for over 10 years. So before going into basketball, I was actually, like I said, my wife and I, we was in youth ministry, like adult just ministry, period. Well, and along that process, I was ordained in that process to actually teach. So there are a very few videos here and there of me actually preaching and teaching. And so a lot of folks don't know that. They just know me as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept it that way because I felt like I wanted my life to speak what I believe. So it's about your actions. So when I do speak to you, you already knew it was something that was different about me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So what is it? Oh, this it explains. And so that is something that I think, like I said, in this new season now, that is really coming to the forefront. It's time for that part to come out. There's personnel who went all over the world with me that testify, players that God has allowed me to see these lives and pray with them, and just to this day that they're just like, yo, coach, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because from that standpoint, it's helped me as a man, as a father, on so many different levels, which it's not something that I really advertise or tell anybody. It's just one of those like, okay, so I think more people may sort of get somewhat of an idea. Those who follow my personal Facebook page, they see a lot of stuff that I speak on, or just and a lot of them, some think that of course, you're always preaching to yourself, and that's how I look at it. I'm like, I'm preaching to myself on that. You know what I mean? I'm encouraging the others the same, but that's one thing that I believe the masses they have no idea about that part of me. They only know the business and the basketball part.
Man, I love it. And what I do love is I'm on your Facebook, so I see the messages that you put out, and the fact that you said that you're preaching to yourself is a powerful statement, because oftentimes you see people putting out memes and different sayings and whatnot, and that's for everybody else, but they're not necessarily internalizing it to themselves, right? This is for other people. They need to use this, but you're saying, no, the stuff I'm putting out is to remind myself and the path that I'm on and the path that I need to stay on. Is that true?
Yes, no, that is 100% true. You know what I mean? So the thing is, right? You gotta understand the gospel is a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you gotta experience it yourself. You gotta go through it yourself. And a lot of times, what we want to do, especially on the religious side, and especially if you hold some kind of position, it's all about the masses. I want to get the numbers, so the church will, and you like you look at yourself and everything is falling apart. So for me, it's one of those, I got to preach it to myself on a daily basis first. You know what I mean? I need it. I need to constantly stay in it if that's what I believe and how I want to live and all of that. And so let it go in, use it as a mirror, and then let it have its effect and do what it needs to do in me. In that way, it'll be able to go out to the masses, and it's genuine, and it's not something that we'll put on a mask and say, hey, this is for you. Well, what about myself? So everything is focused on, they can say it's selfish or whatever you want to say, but I understand if you're not grounded, then how can you help anyone else?
That's powerful, and I actually haven't heard anyone say that before. So thank you for that perspective. I think that's really important and powerful to hear. What are some things that you want people to know about that we didn't talk about today? What are some of the challenges or issues that are on your mind?
Um, challenges. Uh, okay, so one of the things, right? We go back to, let's see. Ah, this is one of the things that I've learned and continue to learn, right? And this is something, not to say, just I guess a little word of encouragement that I want to get out to the masses, whoever may hear this and is going through and just feeling a certain kind of way, just with life, right? Because this journey is you got hills and you have valleys. You know what I mean? And so what began to happen is when you begin to understand that the Bible talks about man may make plans, but God ordered his steps. You know what I mean? So what happens? One of the things I used to say, man, let me stop painting the picture. You know what I mean? I'm trying to paint the picture in which I want and think that that's the best for me. And when it doesn't happen the way in which I want it, you know what I mean? But yeah, especially from what I believe, well, I say what I believe, but there is God. There's someone we always created. And so if we was created for a purpose. You know what I mean? And so for us, what we want to do, we want to try to create or paint what this purpose is for when God is saying, yeah, it's different. You know what I mean? This is not what you was created for. And so instead of, understanding those valleys and the disappointments, the hurts, all the negativity, it's there to produce what you're needed to go into the purpose of the call that you are, that is on your life. So my thing is saying, just encouraging the whoever's listening that whatever you're going through, whatever's happening, it's gonna work out. You know what I mean? Despite what you did do, what you didn't do, you know what I mean? Understand what grace is. Grace is unmerited favor.
Mm, mm. All right, I like it.
And so that is something that I just want to really encourage any of the listeners is just saying that, hey, it, joy do come in the morning, believe it or not. You know what I mean? But even in the midst, you can't wait until the storm is over. To, oh yeah, things we have to learn in the midst of the storm to be able to see and understand who he is. And we just don't want to seek him when things are good. We want to be able to praise him when things are low. So that's what I would just encourage personnel or who may hear this, because there's a lot that's happening in the world today, and there's a lot of us that have questions and wondering what's the next move or what to do. but just understand there is a God who is merciful, who's full of grace and love, and he got you. So that's what I would like to leave.
All right. I definitely appreciate that. And I think, one piece that I was taking from that, there's so much things I could extrapolate from what you're saying and kind of go off in different directions. But one is, we're powerful people. You have locus of control. You don't necessarily have to, it's great. We can link up and we could do things together, but you can start something on your own. We are all living examples of saying, hey, I'm going to go and do this. The only failure is in not trying. Right. Is in not trying to make the attempt. Yes. So I tell people I don't lose. The L that I take is learning. I'm going to win I'm going to learn. And, I go forward and I don't have fear. And if I fail, then it wasn't supposed to happen that way. I just need to, retool or do something else. But I'm not going to not do it because it may not work out the way that I want it or, I intend for it to work out. As you said before, the person when you were Rob, way back in the day, you were a different person than you are today. And, the person that I was back in my 20s, I couldn't see myself teaching at the college level or being a business owner or doing something like having a nonprofit where I'm serving the community and I'm not serving myself. I was a narcissistic, it's all about me, wine, women, and song, and then that's what it was about. And so that fundamental change, I couldn't even picture my life being the way that it is now. Right. And you just don't know, but dare to believe, let God work his way, your will in your life, be open-minded, and dare to believe and try, and you are powerful as a person, and you can influence, the people around you, and then by proxy, the world, right? Your message has not only hit the community that you serve in, here in Kitsap County, but now in Texas, but in all the other countries, you are representing Black men, Black family, representing God, being faithful. Just all of these different things are all happening at the same time that you're witnessing in places that that wasn't the plan 10 years ago, right? Right. You don't know how God is going to use you. You can't even picture it in your mind how God is going to take over your life and do things for you. And use you as a vessel, and that's the reason why the show is called The Conduit, right? Because it's not me, it's through me. I'm just the vessel that information flows from, and people can connect and do those things. I take no credit for it, and it's one of those things where I say, most of the things in our lives are transferable, right? And so you could take a skill set or a strength and move those things in other parts of your life. And I would tell students in the classroom all the time, said, you've got to give yourself grace. And so they would be so unforgiving because they did bad on a test or an assignment, or they didn't do their homework and they didn't give their best effort, and they beat up on themselves, and it's hard for them to move past it. And I think that's the same thing with athletes, right? They can kind of get stuck in their own head, and you've got to give yourself grace and then try to move past that. You got to forgive yourself. And so wherever you find yourself in life, whether, you had a larger responsibility of putting yourself in that situation or circumstances or whatever the case may be, there is a pathway forward. Give yourself grace, believe, and then start making the steps to move forward and change your situation. True story?
Yes, sir. True story.
All right. Well, as we went over time, and I apologize for that. I knew it was going to be good. But like I said, it's just tremendous. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you've done. I thank you for, coming into my classroom years ago and then coming on the podcast now. Like I said, folks, there's things going on behind the scenes in the community where we are doing, many of the things that we can't just talk about now, but understand things are coming. So the collaboration, the things that Ashley was talking about today are things that we are actually doing. You kind of build your own things and you find ways to kind of come together and separate and come together and do that. And together and separately, you kind of change the world. We're all swimming in the same direction. And it really is up to us. Charity starts at home, and it is our responsibility. So, I just want to thank you for coming. I hope that you'll come on again and share, your knowledge and Yeah, I think it's just really powerful. And then the one thing that you didn't say that the teams that you have do and the impact that you have is, everyone isn't necessarily going to make it to the pros. And I think one thing that you're doing is you're building men, to go forward in the world and whatever their profession is, whatever they go on to do, that you are teaching them manhood and what it means to, stand on their square, be responsible, be accountable, and then go forward in the world. So thank you so much for that, because we need it. We need more of it, and we're thankful and blessed that you are here.
Thank you for the opportunity. Like I said, once again, it was a major and very encouraging to come to the college and speak. I felt like I arrived, to actually speak on this at the same college I at one time played for and went to school for business.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be able to come back and speak to a class about international business, and now to be on the podcast and to work with you and know you personally behind the scene, I would love to be back on the show. Whenever you need me, please just give me a call and I'm there. And thank you again for this opportunity.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you an applause. And we are going to wrap. I am Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit. Today, our guest was Ashley Robinson. So stay tuned. We have several upcoming shows. As I said before, I reached out to several people. I thought I'd only get 3, 4, 5 folks, and I'm at 25 interviews already. So I am not going to finish in the month of February, but that's okay. See, that's how God works, right? You set a plan, and he says, no, I'm going to make that exponential. So do stay tuned. On Monday, we have Anton Pressinger from Northwest Hospitality. On Tuesday, we have Don Michelle from Salvation Army. We have Julie Ann Cooper coming Wednesday talking to us about Kita, and on and on and on. So stay tuned, and you will see me on Facebook and YouTube all through the weekend. And if there is no more, we are out. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Bye.